Hello everyone, it's the Old Pro here. Michael Harmon coming to you from Hampton, South Carolina today, where I have not only a dear friend, but he's my low country dad. LCD was an acronym for for all of these years. My low country dad, and Charlie Drawdy, an original founding member of the Secession Club, was a member of mine at Moss Creek back in the earliest of days, the mid 80s, early 80s, and Charlie and Lil just have been like parents to me in the low country. And as we began to explore what we were going to do with the Old Pros table and the chats, these unedited, just fun chats, you were right at the top of my list to get this done.
I won't tell them everything.
We have traveled the world together. We've played so much golf together. We've hunted hundreds of times together. You taught me how to hunt, you and Dickie Elliott and Nash and Ozzie, and we just have had so many good times together. And I wanted to bring you in. I just wanted people to know who you are, what you've done, your passion for the game, your love for the game, your love for sporting and outdoors, and a good story. So it's a pleasure to have you here. You know I love you.
Yep. Like I said, I'm not going to tell everything about you.
We've to get started, I did a little intro on you, but tell them a little bit about yourself to get going, and then we'll get into some specifics.
Well, I've been on this earth 79 years, and I've had a good life. And seems like all my life I've been involved in some way or another with sports and athletics. And besides my work that I had, we were all in my family were primarily football and basketball and baseball players. And I didn't play golf until I was really at Fort Benning, Georgia. And I was went in there, and when I moved in at Fort Benning, I moved right next door to this guy who was a player at University of Houston, Billy Martindale. And we would play. He would take me out to play golf and everything at Fort Benning, and that's where I learned to play and started. And at first, I just hated the game, but being an athlete and a jock, it beat me so bad I wasn't.
Yeah. There is a part of that, isn't it? You just don't want to be beat by it.
I wasn't going to let it win, so anyhow, but it did win.
It's like that old caddy told me once, the game always wins.
The game always wins.
Always wins. That's a line I've never forgotten.
But it's been a good battle. I've enjoyed it very much, and I've got my family involved in it, my wife and my sons. I have two sons, and one of them's a professional golfer, and he's an instructor in golf, and he also loves to hunt like we do, and we have a hunting place that we go to occasionally during the year, and we get to do some duck hunting and quail hunting and deer hunting, and so they've had a good life coming up around all that. So it's good to live in a small town, and I've enjoyed this. I always tell everybody that they say, well, what about Charleston and Savannah and Hilton Head? I said, well, I'm within shouting distance, and I can go to those places, but I want to come back to the low country, and I want to come back to a small town. I've always enjoyed it, and so like I say, I was all through high school and college. I played all the sports and lettered in all of them. They wouldn't let. I started in 7th grade, but they wouldn't let you letter in the 7th grade. You had to wait until you got 9th grade. Of course, they won't let you play any of those sports now in the 7th grade.
big guy then?
No, I weighed 90 pounds.
That's not big.
That's right. I remember my first day of practice, football practice. They used to have these tackling dummies that would hang on a crossbar, and it'd have a weight on one end and the rope, and you go tackle the dummy, and you were supposed to drive through the dummy and tackle him and put him on the ground. Well, it came my time. My brother was right in front of me, and they always called him Ace. And they called me Little Ace. And so they yelled, "Okay, Little Ace, your turn." So I took off for that dummy. When I hit that dummy, all it did was knock me down.
At 90 pounds.
At 90 pounds. So I was always very thin.
But you were a quarterback too.
Yeah, I was a quarterback, and in those days they didn't let you lift weights or anything. Put on any kind of upper strength. Now that's entirely different now.
Yeah.
And
Now you played college ball too.
played drum until I got injured in Saturday scrimmage and cracked some vertebrae all up in the top of my back and everything. I was trying to make a first down to show everybody I was ready to play ball, and I ran into this New Jersey linebacker named DeBuno, and he DeBuno'd me. He DeBuno'd me. So anyhow, that's pretty much the end of that because I kept having a lot of trouble with
What year?
my thing.
What year was that?
That was
Sophomore?
yeah,
Junior year?
freshman and sophomore years.
Yeah.
That'd be 59 and 58, 59, 60 in there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
graduated.
he's a good athlete. You've always been a good athlete. I remember you jogging. You jogged a lot.
Yeah.
I remember you running. That when we traveled together, you would exercise and run still late. 40s and 50s, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have all these gyms and everything, and you'd have a physical exam, and your doctor would tell you need to get some cardio.
Yeah.
And the one I was going to was at the medical university, and he said he was a jogger and said you need to start jogging.
Mm-hmm.
So I started jogging, and I started 1 mile, 2 miles. Next thing you know, I was jogging 5 miles 4 times a week, 4 and 5 times a week. And what I didn't realize, I was really wearing out my hips and knees and stuff like that. So one time I was jogging and I stepped in a hole, and it sort of twisted my knee, and it just didn't seem to get well. So I went and had some x-rays, and I'll never forget it. It was just like yesterday. The doctor came in and said, I took a look at your knee x-ray and said, "What have you been doing?" I said, "What do you mean, what have I been doing?" "Well, what are you doing?" So I told him what I was doing. He said, "Why are you jogging like that?" And I said, "Because you guys told me to." I mean, now you're coming back and telling me I should have done it. I said, "It's too late." And I said, it's too late to build a swimming pool, you know.
And that's affected you in your latter life.
Yeah, it has. It really has. And I've had a back operation and put 5 screws and a rod in my back, and I hadn't been able to get over it. And I have another knee that probably needs operating on, but I don't want to go into my medical history. I don't have flat feet.
Tell everybody about. You've lived a very unique professional life as a overseer of land and lumber and railroads and sawmills and hunting and rights and such like that. Tell everybody a little bit about that. I find it's always been a fascinating life to a large degree. Not many people, live that life.
Well, after I got out of the service, I came back here to try to learn I never was in the farming business or the cattle business or anything all my life, and so I wanted to learn the business, and I thought I would give it at least 2 or 3 years, and if I didn't fit in with it and didn't like it, then I would move on to something else. But after I got here and I worked. I worked for my father-in-law. He was in the business big time, and he's the one that asked me to come work with him. I said, "Well, you know, you can't work for your father-in-law. You can't get along." And I said, "Well, we'll see about that." So I told him I'd give it a couple of years and see if I liked it. And I actually fell in love with it, and we operated five five farms in 3 counties, and I grew corn and soybeans and wheat and Bermuda grass. That's how I know all about the grasses for the golf courses.
That's why you're a good putter of Bermuda.
Yeah,
Little
and
pop
I could
star.
always be a good green chairman because I knew just enough to be dangerous. So anyhow, we went we did that, and then we also were in the lumber business. We grew our own trees, and at the time we had our own logging crew, and we did our own logging and sold the logs to local lumber mills, and so I did that until well, we got out of farming in 1983.
Back up a second. The railroads were tied to the logging.
Yeah, at one time we had a mill at Miley, which is about 9 miles from here in Varnville. And at one time in 1910, it was one of the largest lumber mills in the South. We had 125 homes over there. We had a mill town, and we had our own store. We had our own doctor's office. We owned schools. We owned meat places and grocery stores, and so I learned a lot about the retail business and that, and
Go ahead.
so and then we were also in the cattle business, and we had about 600-700 head of cattle, and they were registered beef, and we would raise those and sell them on auction at stock markets locally. And so I got to do that and learn that part of it. And then we had the H&B Railroad that at one time, like I say, hauled the logs up to the mill there in Miley.
How many miles was that?
It was a 40-mile railroad.
40.
And eventually, when we got out of that and closed the mill down, we got out of the people business. And
Did Miley close up?
no, we kept it in operation. I still had my farms going and everything, and we had all our garages and everything out there to work on the combines and the tractors and everything. And our logging equipment we had our own crew that maintained our equipment. And so I know what a wrench is like too. So it was a lot of responsibility, but when I was that age, from 25 to 35, I didn't realize it was that big a deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
I just
did it.
it was that's what I was going to do, and I fell in love with it, and, until I retired. And and the railroad, we kept it in operation because we would there was electric, South Carolina Electric and Gas had coal burning plant in Canada's. And we would haul it from the main line in Hampton, South Carolina, all the way to Canada's. We'd haul the coal off the CSX line, and they would burn the coal over there. But the Obama administration put a stop to that. Yeah, he hated coal, and they're gonna find out one day that that's a mistake. Coal's always gonna be with us.
Always good.
They're gonna clean it up a little better, but anyhow, so we've sold the railroad, and we no longer in the railroad business.
When was that? What year?
We sold the railroad. What you talking about?
He sold it.
We sold it in 2015.
So not too long ago.
So no, we had it till then. Well, the plant hadn't been closed down that long.
Yeah.
And so we sold it to Colleton County, and they have a railroad. They still operating the railroad.
They operate
on our tracks that we had, and that's another thing. We had to maintain all that rail, 40 miles of rail, and they had to have a crew to keep that in first class condition. Make sure we didn't have any derailments, and keep all the rails in good shape. So it was a lot to look after, but I enjoyed it.
an intriguing life. A very intriguing life. We'll stop it right here for a second.